A better team, we play better, we understand the game better. I think we are more confident. We reached that final confident that we could win because we were doing well in Europe. But in this moment, we play with a different confidence. We manage better the moments of the game. But if you remember that game, they have that shot on the goal, they won the game. So I expect a different game, that we can play better, but also to have a little bit luck to help us to win the game.
To kick off the weekend's action, it's Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United. What a game.
Yeah, great game, because you just don't know what to expect. That's the thing. You can say that United are better, and they are, for sure. They have corrected some of the mistakes or the issues or the fragilities that they had last season, for sure. But how good are they really? I don't think you know. Yeah, okay, you win away at Liverpool, but it's still not, I think, the level that Amorim would want them to be. And for Spurs, their home form has been so bad that I don't know how they're going to play. I don't know who can carry this team at all. They lack creativity, especially at home when they have the ball. So this should be really good fun to watch, especially if you're neutral.
Yeah, repeats of the Europa League final. And we know Spurs had a great time against Manchester United last season, right?
Well, they certainly did. Your stat, 4 games, 1 all 4. I won't take the credit for that. But it's difficult to use that because under Thomas Frank, they're a different team. Okay. I'm with you, Jules. Both sides are just so unpredictable. And I don't know, Spurs, I feel there's sort of this undertone there. You know, we've seen players unhappy at full time. The Chelsea game felt they were so poor. Sort of the weeks before that against Newcastle, they lose 2-0. That game they weren't as poor, but you've probably gone off that thinking, well, it's a painful defeat. So I'm still a little unsure of what we're seeing from Spurs, and I think maybe Thomas Frank is still trying to address some smaller issues. I think he's fairly settled in his back four, but further up the pitch, I'm not sure about Simons. I'm not sure.
Kudus,
that is the main concern, isn't it? Because they've had the second fewest shots in the Premier League, and as Rachel mentioned, they were poor against Spurs, especially going forward. Their top scorer is a centre back.
Yeah, Mickey van der Ven with 3 goals. Same in the Champions League, he's got 3 as well. The expected goals against Chelsea at 0.05 at home is unacceptable. I don't care. You can play against the greatest team in the history. You're not trying. Don't tell me. And you should have lost 4-0 easily that game if Vicario doesn't make some great saves. He has to sort out. I understand Thomas Frank being more pragmatic and trying to sort out the defence first. And it's easier to do, to be fair, than putting together a great attacking plan and patterns of play with the ball and all that kind of movement. That takes much longer than sorting out your defensive line and your defensive structure. However, make those mistakes like that regularly, right? Jet Spence neither, or Xavi Simons neither. But in this game against Chelsea, they were just all over the place. And that's a worry for me, because if he can't even sort out the defensive side of it, which he's more known for, I'm not sure attacking-wise he will ever do wonders, because that's not the kind of manager that he is anyway.
What does it tell you when that's happening in a defence? And as Jules mentioned, it's not typical to see from Spence, from Van der Ven either.
Yeah. Well, those little moments there, that's actually more mindset, because structurally they're fine. Yeah. But Van der Ven there tries to, do a quick little shift of the ball to break the tackle. I'm not sure he does that, and they're playing Chelsea. I think I would expect them to respect Chelsea, and it's London derby to some degree. You can choose in those moments to be like, I'm just going to put my foot firm through this. And there's moments where you do that. And it's not a reflection of whether you're one of these tough centre-backs, whether you're a nice football playing centre-back. There are just moments where it's like, do you know what? It's actually better we just deal with this and we'll get the ball another that's more of like a mindset, going into the game. And I think those are mistakes that you got to cut them out altogether, because in the Premier League, teams will take those chances. Any Premier League team, even teams at the bottom will score those chances if you give them. So that's more a mindset thing rather than a structure thing. Which it looked like they responded, because in midweek in Europe Champions League they were very dominant. So I think he's just does take time, but those are the mistakes they have to cut out.
Yeah, and you're saying there you cannot afford to give attacking players that kind of space and make those mistakes. They're coming up against the Player of the Month for October in Manchester United's Brian Mbeumo, who will take advantage.
Yeah, and Cunha as well, and Sesko. Whoever plays in that front three for United, there's different combination. I think Rúben Amorim loves Mason Mount. Because the problem, if you have Sesko and Cunha and Bruno a bit deeper and Bomo, they all want to shoot. There's one ball. You can't all have 5 shots in the game. This is not possible. Mount is a much more unselfish player in that sense, where he will bring fluidity to your attacking game. The others is a bit more difficult because they have to share that ball and the shot. But, and as you can see, there's a lot of shots that United are taking. Not always the right decision to do, but so depending on that front three, I think Amorim is getting somewhere, at least for now. Let's see against a good Spurs team. You would expect Spurs to be up for this more than against Chelsea, especially after the win against Copenhagen.
Okay, well, let's get the thoughts of Manchester United boss Rúben Amorim as his team prepares for that clash in North London.
We are.
Okay, so he clearly has no interest in that stat of them having played 4 times last season and Spurs won all 4. He says, you know, they can play a little bit of a different game and get some like, Man United back.
I would love to confidently say that they are. There have been improvements, and I think that's probably the best place to land it, because I feel in the last seasons, but every time they've got a result, it's been, can they be, is this going to be the change? Is this a change? And I think we've sort of had enough of that. But they have actually, in the last sort of 5-6 weeks, built up a run of results where you can say there is some consistency starting to be seen. And I do think Cunha is a big part of that, and Mbeumo has been a real sensation as well. And they are the ones, I think, when you watch United, they do bring an enjoyment that probably the fans feel they've not been able to enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, they don't play in Europe. And this is massive. And I know Spurs had an easy game against Copenhagen, but it's still another game. You don't train on the Tuesday before. You play on the Monday for the Tuesday game. Wednesday is you warm down. Then it's Thursday, Friday you play Saturday. They had the whole week to prepare tactically, physically, mentally for every game. And this counts. And Arsenal should count. Because everybody else is playing in Europe, even Crystal Palace. There's so many English teams in Europe, you can't count them anymore. So let's make it count if you're United and Amorim.
Yeah, Amorim, the manager of the month for October. And actually, Manchester United are 4 in a row unbeaten. They've never gone 5 in a row unbeaten under Amorim. I'm wondering if your predictions say that they can do that. Let's save it for the end of the show, though, because we're going to move on now to Crystal Palace versus Brighton, and a match I had no idea was such a fierce rivalry.
Welcome back to Premier League Friday. This weekend's action kicks off tomorrow lunchtime with Tottenham against Manchester United, the clubs that finished 17th and 15th respectively last season. But a win for either of them will see them go second. Benjamin Sesko is likely to start up front for United, despite some criticism from Gary Neville. He said in comparison to other summer signings, Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, Sesko has been, in his words, miles off it.
Of course, nobody likes to hear, but he struggled a little bit, and that is a fact. So let's embrace that. It's not personal. It's not nothing. That's what I try to explain the players. That is not personal. It's an opinion that is going to change in 3 weeks. Everything is going. What is true today in 3 weeks could be everything a lie. So of course it's hard to hear, but my advice to Ben is you are going to get used. And then it's going to be natural. It's going to be like your Monday here. So that is part of the process, and we are going to help him, and we are going to protect Ben because he works really hard and he wants to succeed. So he's going to succeed.
He's still a young striker. He's still obviously adapting to the Premier League, to a team that feels like it's still growing in their own confidence. Do you think Gary's comments a bit harsh or fair?
Look, I think he's obviously got an emotional attachment to it because of it being Manchester United. Listen, he's underperformed, 100%. We all know that. It takes time. We've been in dressing rooms before when players, let alone players coming from abroad, even players that move up and down his own country, it takes time to set into a new environment, a new culture. We don't know if there's family involved, who he's had to bring over. The price tag as well. You know, they was crying out for a striker to come and sort of save Man United. So there's been a lot of pressure on there. And listen, it will take time. But what Rúben Amorim's saying there, he's in an environment now where we're going to help him as much as possible, and we'll get him to the top.
Yeah. Do you think, Rob, the senior players will be around him a lot in this moment, or is it just a case of kind of let him figure his own feet out?
You'd hope so. You'd hope they get around him and say, look, we've been through it. You look at Bruno Fernandes, he gets criticised from every angle. Yeah. He's the shining light of the team at times. And you look at Rasmus Højlund last season. was miles off it apparently. Now banging in goals for Napoli. So you're looking at it saying this is a recurring theme here. This is not just Sesko himself. So Manchester United have been way off it. They've been getting their act together now. So you're thinking, well, let's back him, let's support him, let's help him get through this, and with him, we'll get through it, and we're showing signs of life, we're showing signs of form, we can work with him. The manager's getting every week to training with the team because they've not got European football, they're out of the League Cup, so they've got time to deal with him. So you've got all these things, facets working for you, make it work for you.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, it obviously, as you say, it is getting a little bit better. It feels like a little bit of consistency that they're building on. Jamie Carragher had that famous quote about Casemiro when he said, leave the football before the football leaves you. But even Casemiro is, building in confidence. He's got 2 goals back to back. Do you think he's still, good enough for the Premier League? Do you think he's still up there?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's put in some real solid performances. I think it's been helped him scoring goals, first of all, and vital goals at that. But it's been helped in a way, and Rúben Amorim's been really, really clever with his formation, that 3-4-3. There's certain times where he's pushed Luke Shaw in to bolster that midfield, because that's where they've been a bit overloaded in midfield with Fernandes and Casemiro against an opposition that normally have 3 in midfield, and then with their legs they have struggled. But where Luke Shaw's sometimes gone in is that inverted fullback, or they've had to just pull the 2 wide men in. So it gives them more of a basis of a midfield 4. That's helped them, where it's saved their legs, so they can concentrate then about being on the ball, and what they've done on the ball in terms of this season has been a big improvement.
I know one player, Rob, you wanted to talk about, of course, was Sen Lamens, the new goalkeeper. Yeah. What have you made of his start?
Well, it's been really promising, but you could say it's come from such a low bar from a Manchester United perspective. You look at his debut, he came for balls and claimed crosses, and was greeted by cheers as though they'd won the Champions League or something like that.
But what they had was
well, this was where they were. And you go back to David De Gea when he first came in and he got beaten up. And you've got a guy who had the confidence and coming for balls and coming for crosses. And I think from there, you're coming from a basis of A, competence, but then B, sort of real assuredness that what the manager wants, especially at a club like that, is to say, look at his goalkeeper and go, that's taken care of. Yeah. There I have so many fires here that I've got to deal with all at once. And the game is sometimes a relief for a manager of Manchester United. There's so much outward facing stuff he's got to deal with that you're looking at it saying, one thing I don't want to have to do is field questions about my goalkeeper, field questions about whether he's the right man for the job. They've got that right now. So he's in a really good spot. He's really playing really well. He's still young. He's still got stuff to work on. Looking at him and his work with his shot stopping and his technique with that, I think there's a little bit to work on.
Well, that's it. I mean, there was the goal against Brighton. I think we're going to show a clip of that. I mean, in this sort of situation, where can he improve in this? Yeah,
just looking at his footwork and looking at him, he's a little bit low and he does it a little bit, sits a little bit deep and on his heels. And from that, and it's hard to describe, but from there, it's almost like sitting on a chair. Yeah. And it helps him in some aspects that when he comes to spread and make himself big, he does it really, really well. And he comes out and he manages to block shots really, really well. But in the aspects like this, you're looking at it thinking, he's not just quite getting into his full dive, his full triple extension through his ankle, his knees, his hips. You're looking at that. That's where you fully get your power from. It's because he's sat a little bit deep and he's a little bit on his heels. Then he's saying it's really hard to get your footwork in to then explode into a dive. And you're just looking at something like that. You say he's got time. He's going to let in goals, which are fantastic free kicks like that. Yeah. But when you go to the next level, when you go to making big saves to win you the league, win you the Champions League, you're looking at one-off big saves. You look at Courtois in the week against Liverpool. Fantastic, just huge moments and saves. Those are the things you go to. That's the next level. And that's just a little thing. You're looking at him going, great start. The next level's there.
Do you think that potential is there for him?
Yeah.
This is the thing. In that
it's hypercritical.
Top bracket.
It's hypercritical. But you're saying you've shown the competence. You've got people on your side. You've got people like Peter Schmeichel going, yep, this is the guy. It's good enough for me. That sort of backing. So you're saying, right, what's next? Right, where can we work on him? Talk about Sesko working on his game. there's another, you can work on the goalkeeper's game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, ahead of hosting United, Spurs have some issues to contend with. Mohamed Kudus is touch and go on whether or not he's going to be fit, and Thomas Frank's side have won just one of their 4 games in front of their own fans. Take a look at this. That's the home form for the 17 teams who have been in the top flight all the way through this calendar year. It's not pretty for Spurs. Of 14 league matches in front of their own fans, they've won just 3. A return of less than a point per game. Even West Ham have done better there.
Why have you got to say like that?
Oh, because I have to. Because everyone talks about it, Rob, saying, West Ham at home, what are the fans getting their money for? I mean, why do you think Spurs have struggled so much at home, Steve?
Well, this goes back into last season as well, where the stats backed it up and it wasn't great. I think they play different football from home to away. At home, they play this sort of possession-based football, and again, stats back that up rather than away from home. Very much go back to the first game against Man City on the counter-attack, fast breaking, getting from one penalty box to the other as quickly as they can. There's a real contrast in styles, home and away. Then when you look at them at home, if they're trying to play this possession-based football and they've got Bentancur and Paulino in the middle of the park, 2 sort of ball winners, robust, getting the ball back, they just miss that spark of a real cutting-edge maverick that can just split sort of teams apart. They've had injuries as well, and they're missing them calibre of player. But that's the gist of why they're poor home and away.
That's what they need.
I was playing for Norwich at the time, and it was a lot of talk and a lot of waiting, and I got wind of it and got word that it would be announced, and it was used to be after the games on the Saturday. But don't tell anyone. And I took that.
Who's telling you this? Is this your agent?
Oh, this was the manager of the team.
The manager of the team?
Yeah, they managed to get the word from England, and so they said don't tell anyone, to the point where I was in the tunnel and players were asking me before the game, and I still said I don't know, and I was like, I took it so literally. I was like, and then at the end of the game I just go yes, and it was just such a relief to get it out, and then to go there and you realise how much of a shift it is to go and do international football and to fly back the following day, and then I think we landed at 4 a.m. on the Thursday and you're playing on the Saturday.